Jack here, JBF Music and Guitar Lessons. In this quick guitar tricks we're looking at 10 things you can do with double down up. Cool. So, what's double down up? You take the pick and you hold it like this, downward pick slanting. We go down through the string, down through the next one, and then up on that same string. Double down up. Here I'm going down on the E, down on the A. Economy picking or sort of mini sweep if you want to think of it that way, then up again on the A. With this upstroke you probably want to rotate your forearm this way. A bit like opening a door with a set of keys, although most likely a much more subtle movement. Out picking from the elbow, you don't really need to rotate the forearm, or at least it doesn't feel like it. Just sort of lift the elbow up, a bit like an arm on a record player. You could also do some circular picking from the fingers, which might help out. Both feel pretty natural to me, as does the wrist forearm way. The final thing you might want to consider is try using the rest stroke. So here, after the E, rest your pick on the A, after the A, rest on the D, and then back up just as usual. Personally, I don't find this too helpful and prefer to just kind of float or hover a bit more. Now that we've got that explanation out of the way, let's have a look at our first use doing some funky triplets. I'm just muting the strings with my left hand and then going through the string sets 2 at a time. Playing this slowly is a really great way of getting the basics of this picking trick down, which is why I put this right at the start. Okay, let's just keep it fairly simple for now, and for use number 2 we'll look at applying it to a pentatonic scale. A pretty cool lick, albeit a tad exercisey sounding. For a bonus trick we could do it as 16th notes rather than triplets. Obviously you'd hear the difference better here to some backing music or a click track. As another bonus trick, we could double some of them up. Here I'm just going to play every group of 3 twice. I stumbled across this technique myself just from the idiosyncrasies that sort of emerged from playing guitar, and didn't realise it was actually a thing until a few years ago. It seems to be most commonly associated with Brad Davis and country, or more aptly bluegrass, so let's look at that for use number 3. You'll notice here I've mixed in some alternate picking for the start of the lick and a pull off as well, just to highlight really early on that this can be mixed fairly easily with loads of other techniques. Another 2 bonus tricks here. We can play an 8th note followed by 2 16ths, doing the double down up but starting on the up. And also I'm using open strings to take advantage of playing the same note on a different string. I've packed a whole load of examples into this quick tricks, so there's every chance it'll end up being not so quick after all. But in all fairness, the basic technique has been covered in the first few minutes, well, that's my excuse anyway. Keeping in with the idea of adding in alternate picking for this use as well. Now, I've done a much more detailed video on this exact topic, which I'll link to with a card in the top right. But here, essentially, I've gone for an A minor sus2 or add 9 kind of a lick. In a nutshell, we're doing down down up on the first 3 notes, and then down up on the next 2, and repeat this for every group of 5. So going through it, down, down, up, down, up. Next group of 5 will be the same, down, down, up, down, up, and again on these ones, down, down, up, down, up, and the final one, down, down, up, down, up, and a final note, so let's just go for it down. Use number 5, and yes, part of me is worryingly irritated that Eric's 5s wasn't actually at number 5, but it just tied in with number 4 too well from a teaching perspective to mess about with the order. Anyway, we've used it on a scale now, so how about we do an arpeggio? I'm going through a C major arpeggio here. I find that palm muting really helps clean it up, so I don't have to think about moving my left hand's fingers quite as much. This is particularly useful if you want to put some speed on it. If you think about this C bar chord here, I'm basing my pattern on that, adding in this third, and then going a little bit further up the fretboard. You could do this to any chord or arpeggio really, so why not go for an A minor? But this time, let's not double the double down up. Let's change the rhythm and use 2 16th notes followed by an 8th note, which was that trick we did from before. Just for a bit of variation. Number 6. So either I've edited an explosion in there or I just look really daft. We've only done lead playing examples thus far, so how about some love for that tireless rhythm section? A bit like trem picking on maybe a mandolin or something similar for what is essentially a fairly busy rhythm part. I'm outlining a 1, 4, 1, 5, 1 in the key of C major. So it would be C, F, C, G, and back to C. I'll pop a little overlay in the tab there just to explain more clearly where these chord changes occur, and now I'll just go through it slowly. Now for me personally, this is another one where I think palm muting, even if it's just a little bit light, really helps this and it helps clean it up a bit. I think that sounds a bit cooler, particularly when it's fast. Now what we can do is we can play this down the octave as well, just keeping the same shapes but moving them down to these strings. Probably a touch more palm muting here, otherwise things will get rather muddy. And I'll slow it down. So like I say, that's the exact same notes but just an octave lower. Alright, well that is my token nod to the rhythm playing out the way, so let's get back to more lead. So use number 7 is for classic blues licks. This gives it a much more power blues vibe, a bit like Andy Timmons or someone similar to that. You might notice 2 bonus tricks here as well. First of all the notes are 16ths for the double down up, again just for some rhythmic diversity, and I've put in a little pull off as well, just to show how much you can mix into this one little trick. So slowed down, it would sound like this. As a side note, I had to play about with how I fingered this to keep it clean when I was playing at a higher speed. I found second finger on the B string, first and third on the E, switching to the third finger on the B and second finger on the E for the second half of that first bar there. No, sorry, the first half of the second bar, got confused there. And it just helped tidy it up a little bit more. I'm not entirely sure why, I suspect just some weird muscle memory thing I've got going on here, so that's what I'm going to blame. Number 8, and at this point I'm about as far away from bluegrass as you can get. Let's go for some shred here. In fact, let's go one further, let's make it some neoclassic hard rock style shred. This is the sort of thing, again, that with a high speed on it, I really prefer the sound of it being lightly palm muted, and it just makes life a lot easier in your left hand. You don't have to worry about strings ringing into each other and kind of slop and that sort of thing. In the last bar, what I'm doing is going up in 2-note per string arpeggios. First of all, I have a G major, then an A minor, B diminished, ending on a C major. A really good way of using this trick in particular is that it can make a picked part sound almost tap because of the amount of speed you can get on it, albeit with a more aggressive timbre, I suppose. A bonus trick here too is a great way to play the Power Rangers intros. There's a lesson card in the top right if you want to check that out. We're at number 9 now, and I'm well aware that I've not made any weird noises yet, so let's make sure to rectify this grave injustice right now, because what is guitar good for, if not making novelty, largely unusable, quirky sounds? Using it on natural harmonics. You can move the left hand up and down the fretboard to catch loads of different ones, but for the slow demo I'll stick to the 5th fret on the D and the G strings just like I've got on the tab up there. As a bonus tip, you can even move this off the fretboard. Your best bet for here, particularly if you want to play beyond the fretboard, is using the bridge pickup rather than the neck. The neck will tend to cut the notes a little bit short, they will be a bit harder to get, and they won't ring out quite as brightly as they could. As another bonus tip, you can try adding delay, modulation effects, maybe even some pitch shifting ones, while switching onto different strings. This will sound pretty epic. Finally, number 10, well done if you stuck around, hopefully you'll find most of these useful. This final one, invert it. So instead of down, down, up, we have up, up, down. To be honest, I'd never even thought of this before I started putting this video together, and I had to start coming up with ideas and different ways of using technique, and at some point this just popped into my head. Now, you want to switch the technique around a little bit as well. You want to upward pick slant rather than down, and rotate your forearm the other way. So you'd be rotating this way rather than this way. If you got the first technique down, this will probably be much more intuitive because you're just kind of doing things the other way around. The other thing I've done here is I've gone for a whole tone scale just to mix things up a little bit more. There's another whole tone lick in my George Lynch Pro Tips style analysis lesson. I'll put a card up there if you want some more whole tone goodness in your life. But yeah, slowed down, it would sound like this. Cool, so those are 10 things you can do with double down up. The technique itself wasn't new to you, then hopefully at least one of these will be useful that you can put into your own playing. This has been Quick Tricks, well, Quickish Tricks. That's the playlist up there. Please do consider to subscribe, check out some other videos I've done, leave a comment if you've got a question or suggestion, share, like and enable notifications with that little bell on the side if you feel so inclined. Cheers guys.